Welcome, 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 everybody. I hope everybody is excited as I am today for our webinar titled, How to Be a More Successful Introverted Entrepreneur. My name is Michael Haskett, and I'm thrilled to be the co-host on this webinar today. I'm the creative director at Durango Courses, where our experts connect their years of training and education into practical, fun, interesting, action-packed courses that provide real results. And in the next 60 minutes, our award-winning expert, Roger Haskett, will keep you on the edge of his seat with his tips, tactics, and secrets to make your introverted entrepreneur business a success. Let's flip over to Roger. He's waiting in the wings. There he is live. Good morning.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm glad you guys are here.
All right. Now let's make sure everybody can hear and see me okay, or see Roger okay. Just type yes in the question box. That's right below the screen. That'll give me a thumbs up that everything's working well. Now we want to make this webinar as personal, eventful, and interactive for you as possible. So please type in the answer to the question you see up on the screen now. Tell us, do you identify more as being an introvert or as being an entrepreneur? Just type your answer in the have a question box right below and just hit submit.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I know what the answers are going to be.
Well, we're going to give you some statistics in just a second, Roger. We will have a question and answer at the end of the webinar, but please feel free to enter your questions throughout the webinar in the have a question box. Sometimes we'll get to them during the presentation, but if not, we'll get to them at the end. Now, while you're typing in your answers, just a quick note about webinars and technology. If at any time throughout the webinar you experience technical difficulties, your freeze freezes, you lose sound or picture, try refreshing or reloading the page. If that doesn't work after a couple tries, then just close the page, return to your welcome email, and click on the login button again. Now, it's always nice to say hello to everybody personally, but a bit impractical due to the audience size. We have introverted entrepreneurs attending from the United States, Canada, Great Britain, Australia, and New Zealand. Quite a wide, worldwide audience today.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone. All right, answers are in, and we're starting to show a result of about 67%, Roger, as being introverted.
Two-thirds.
Two-thirds, just over two-thirds, yeah. All right, now let's maximize your webinar experience today. So please just turn off your background equipment, turn off anything that's running in the background, turn off your email, your Skype, your iTunes, any extra programs that you may have on. The program that we're using utilizes a lot of webinar space or a lot of space on your computer, so help it out by just shutting down those other things. You can silence your phone, close your door, put on a headset if you need it, and give yourself this time to discover the new strategies we're going to discuss. We've invested a lifetime in these strategies, and we don't want you to miss anything. And we promise to make it worth every minute of your time. And we also promise to keep it to 60 minutes. Now, at the end of the webinar, we're going to share with you a really cool bonus. It's extra special, and I promise that it'll be worth your time. So make sure you stick around to see what that is. Now, today, Roger is going to share his own personal experiences to help you better understand how to be a more successful entrepreneur. And more importantly, how you can apply the strategies in your own life. Plus, Roger will include stories and examples from some of the thousands of the students he has also helped to improve their business, social, and family lives. Our goal is that you walk away from this masterclass thinking, holy cow, this is some of the best information I've ever received. That truly is our goal for you. So, without a further delay, let's introduce our expert, Roger Haskett. And I'm going to get this question, so I'll address it now. It's not a coincidence that Roger and I have the last name. We are brothers. Yes. And it's actually the first time we've worked together on a very large project like this. And it's very special for us both to be able to present this real valuable information to you. Roger Haskett is an award-winning writer, director, actor, teacher, speaker, and an introverted entrepreneur. He uses a foundation of neuroscience and performance theory in his company called Engagement Unlimited, where they push the boundaries of how to create engagement for individuals and companies. Roger has a Bachelor of Fine Arts in Acting and a Master's in Education. He's acted in over 150 films, TV shows, and commercials, and auditioned approximately 3,000 times over the last 20 years. Some of the shows that Roger has been in: iRobot, Supernatural, Stargate, X-Files, and The Flash. And some of the people Roger's worked with: Ben Affleck, Matt Dillon.
Matt Dillon's a really nice guy. I like him a lot.
Paul Giamatti, Sheila LaBeouf, and Ricky Schroeder.
Another nice guy.
Another nice guy. That's what I thought you were going to say.
Yeah, I mean, and the other guys are probably nice too, but I had more interactions with those guys, so I got to know them a little more.
Great. Yeah. Now, quick note here from Dave Lieber, Dallas Morning News columnist. What he had to say about Roger: he was by far the best speaker. I was amazed by his fun sense of humor and, most important, how much I learned from him. I implemented his tips immediately and saw noticeable improvement in my business. Terry Brock is a Hall of Fame speaker. For those of you who don't know what Hall of Fame means, it's a very select, limited group of speakers throughout the world. Terry Brock is one of the very few of them.
I wish I was one of them. One day soon.
This is what Terry had to say. Brilliant. Lots of great value. Roger combines a mega genius mind with superb acting skills and delivers a practical, powerful message to his audience. I was glad to be there. Here's Roger and his family, his beautiful wife and 3 kids. Look at that happy bunch. What a wonderful family he's got.
Adorable. They are adorable.
They are adorable. And here's our expert, Roger Haskett himself. Roger, you're live.
Great. So thanks so much, everyone, for taking this time. We all suffer from time poverty now, where we don't have enough time to do all the things that we have to do. So I appreciate you taking the time today. So let's get going. Let me start by talking a little bit about my story, because often when I start talking about introverts, people don't believe me. They don't believe that I'm an introvert. They'll go, no, not you. You spend a bunch of time on stage. Like, you're an actor, you're a teacher, you're a speaker, you do all these things in front of people. And it's true. I love to spend my energy in front of people. I love being an actor. I love being a teacher. I love actually helping to guide people on a journey. That's really what I love to do. Turn around and go, hey, come on a journey with me. But I'm an introvert in that I gather my energy, which is really the definition of extrovert and introvert. And no one's an actual, let me do this quote. I love this quote. No one's an actual full introvert or only an introvert or only an extrovert. We're all like different layers of ambivert, like a mixture of the two, because the quote goes, if you actually met anyone who was a full, true introvert or extrovert, they would be in an insane asylum, right? Because, right? Because we don't, if you're only that extreme and only that extreme on one side, you'd be like, something different. So we're all a little bit of both. But people who identify as introverts tend to have more introverted characteristics. And when I would say this to people, they'd be like, no. And it's not so hard to understand that people would find it hard to believe that I'm an introvert, because guess what? I found it hard to believe that I was an introvert. I wouldn't say that to people. I wouldn't go around saying I'm an introvert, because people wouldn't believe me, because I didn't believe me either. But it turns out I am. And I didn't understand that I was an introvert until a lot of time had passed. And I was doing some reading, like reading Susan Cain, and looking into it a little bit more, actually for my company, that I started to go, I think I'm a little bit more of an introvert than I thought, and when I look back on my life, a pattern started to emerge. And this is one of Roger's rules. We're going to talk about Roger's rules further on. But one of Roger's rules is this. This is like a freebie for you guys. Life finds out what you need to learn and then rubs your face in it until you do. And so this is one of those things that life kept rubbing my face into, because this pattern kept emerging over and over, years, decades of this pattern in front of my face before I finally sort of recognized it. And this was the pattern. You tell me if you recognize it, because I bet you do. So I have a company, Engagement Unlimited. It was a solopreneur activity until 5 years ago. I had sort of people that I hired. I have a roster of people that performers that I use, but I mostly ran the company myself. So you know what that means? What that means is that I did all the marketing and sales. I created everything. I wrote it all. I directed it. I was often in it. I cast everyone. I did the costumes. I drove everyone to where we were going. I did all the follow-up. I got the money. I did all the accounting, blah, 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 right? I did everything. And so I had this pattern that I would go and I would do a show, get all that stuff arranged, and I'd go and do the show. I'd walk, I'd hear the same thing over and over again. I'd have people say, clients of mine, would they say, that was amazing. Like, that was ridiculously amazing, better than anything we've had, maybe ever. Like, that was ridiculously good. This is what I would hear all the time. And I would bask in that glory. And then I would do what I do, which was go home. People would say to me, my like friends, like the performers that I would hire, or clients, people that I was working for. They go, hey, let's go out and have a drink afterwards and talk about how great today was. And guess what I would say? I would say, no, thanks. My job's done. I'm going to go home and relax and recharge. I'm going to hang out with my really small group of friends, a really small group of my family, really now my family mostly. I'm going to hang out with them, or mostly I'm going to hang out by myself. I'm going to go up into my office, into my room. I'm going to read. I'm going to, look off into the, the beautiful Vancouver mountains and think. I'm going to think. I'm going to do a lot of thinking, right? And so year after year after year after year, I noticed that my sales were not increasing, even though I was doing these amazing things and having people say the most amazing things after I finished what we did. Until about 5 to 7 years ago, I started to change, and it took a while because it's hard to change, right? This is what we're talking about here: how to affect ourselves enough so that we can actually change in the ways that we want to. So it's really hard. So about 5-7 years ago, I started reaching out. And what I did is I started to think that my job wasn't just putting everything on and then going home. I started to think that my job was actually part of my job. Part of my job started when everything else was finished, because we all know the marketing mantra, like marketing 101. People need to know, like, and trust you if they're going to do business with you. Know, like, and trust. Now, I was letting people trust me. Whoops, wrong finger. I almost gave you guys the finger. I was letting people trust me because I was putting on amazing shows, amazing stuff day after, time after time. But what I wasn't letting them do is get to know or like me, because I was denying them that ability, because most people choose to like and to know people. That's how they get to know them and choose to like them, when they socialize with them. And that's the one thing I didn't want to do with people. I didn't want to socialize. Socializing is a lot of pressure for an introvert. And it's a lot of extra pressure when you think that your job is done, which is what I thought. And so we're going to talk about how changing the way you think is one of the most important and the most significant and valuable and potent ways of changing your behavior. Change the way you think, change the way you act. Change the way you act, you also change the way you think. It's a two-way street. And we're going to look at it from both ways, but we're talking now about changing the way you think. So basically about 7 years ago, I changed the way I thought. And I started to think that I needed to let people get to know and to like me. So I started to socialize. And I didn't just socialize by going out afterwards, because that's great, but I actually tried to be smart about it, because I'm an introvert. And I don't, because for one thing, introverts tend to be smart. And secondly, because I didn't want to use my energy up. I didn't want to waste it. I didn't want to waste my energy. So what I did is I looked around and I went, where's the best way to maximize my socializing? And of course, the best way to maximize your socializing for most people is to get to be part of an association, to be part of a community that works in the area, that is in your industry, right? To be part of that community. So I started to go to meetings for meeting planners. I started to go to meetings, associations for creative people in the events world. So I started to go to these different associations and network there. And what I did when I networked there is what we're going to talk about in a couple minutes. I'm going to teach you guys some of the things that I did to help myself get out of my introvert personality and into my entrepreneurial area, where I needed my entrepreneurial drive. So about 5 years ago, I hired someone, which was really hard for me to do as an introvert. Here's another pattern, right? The last thing I wanted was someone in my office with me, looking at me all the time. Like, what pressure, what stress, right? Like, to have someone in there all the time. Where's my time? Where's my alone space? Where's my ability to go into my head and just think about things and strategize when there's someone else near me, around me? So I took the leap and I did that. It was hard. It was challenging as an introvert. It was challenging. Now, 5 years later, I've got 3 full-time employees. I've got a couple part-time employees, and I got a huge roster of people that I hire for events. About 3 years ago, my sales doubled finally, after 20 years of not doing anything.
They doubled Sorry, Roger, they doubled a couple years ago, right?
They doubled a couple years ago. Last year, they doubled again. And this year, we're on track. Who knows? We're only halfway through the year, but we're on track to triple from last year. So we've gone basically up 6 times in the last couple of years. Our sales have basically gone up 6 times in the last couple of years, and mostly because of what I'm going to be talking to you guys about, because I changed the way I thought about what my job was. And instead of thinking that my job was over when socializing and networking, etc., started, I started to think that that was my job too. And everything really started to change. And my company is in a spot now where it would never have been. Never have been if I hadn't started to make these changes 7 years ago and 5 years ago, these hard changes. So let's start talking about those changes. Okay, so that's sort of my pattern. Maybe you recognize yourself. It took me 20 years to figure out that I needed to change. I want to offer you guys a much faster way of going about that process. So you don't need to take 20 years to figure out how to make your income, your sales go up 6 times, right?
Right.
So yeah, so let's start talking about networking. And the very first thing, this is the very first thing that I tell to the people I hire. And this is the very last thing I say just when we're about to start our show. So like, you know, my company does a combination of entertainment and education. So we're constantly up in front of people. I hire people who are performers and entertainers and educators, right? Like they are people who are good at getting up. And this is what I say, the more fun you have, the more fun they have. That's my number one mantra for my company. The more fun you have, the more fun they have. So this is what we introverted entrepreneurs need to take to heart, to pull to us. The more fun you have as an introverted entrepreneur at a networking event, the more fun other people have. And guess what? When you bring the fun to events, you don't have to worry about bringing much else because people will seek you out. This is my experience. So when I started going to networking events 7 years ago, when I started to like go to associations, et cetera, in that sort of time frame, it was hard. Like, you know, I'm going to teach you guys some of the things that I needed to do to get myself, my energy up so that I could actually be effective. It was hard. Now, when I go to networking events, my goodness, it's like going to like, you know, getting into a warm hot tub. Like it's so glorious. Like I walk in and people go, hey, Roger. And they come over and they hang out with me because what? Because I try to bring the fun. Because the more fun I have, the more fun other people have. So the number one rule. So this is another sort of freebie because this is not one of the 3 points about networking. This is an overall philosophy, right? So as an introverted entrepreneur, you want to keep close to you, close to your soul. The more fun you have, the more fun they have. So figure out how you have fun and then start sharing that. Okay, so let's move on to networking because we only have a little bit of time. And I want to make this really clear. We're scratching the surface here. Scratch, 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 little bits of scratching, right? We're going to do like, you know, 35, 40 minutes of content to help you hopefully be a bigger, better, more authentic introverted entrepreneur. But we're scratching the surface. We've got hours and hours and hours of stuff that we can talk about that we are going to talk to you about talking about, as well as much more than that, because there's so much information about how we as introverted entrepreneurs can best move through the world. And one of the reasons why there's so much information is because we're living through a glorious explosion of information about how to be a human. Neuroscience has learned more in the last 5 years. Let me rephrase that. In the last 5 years, neuroscience now knows 90% of what we used to know about the human brain, right? So 90% of what we now know has been created in the last 5 years. I said that badly, but that's what I mean. The last 5 years, 90% of what we now know about the human brain and the body and how we work and how we move through the world has been created. So now we have all this information. So let's use that science to make our lives better. All right. So that's what we're going to do. So number one rule for networking, to make it more profitable and more pleasant. Got to be pleasant. Remember, the more fun you have, the more fun they have. If it's not pleasant for you, it's really hard to make it work. To make networking work, it's really hard if it's not pleasant and pleasurable. So let's figure out how to make it pleasant so that it can be profitable. Okay. So number one, introverts hate small talk. You should be going, yeah, I know what you mean, Roger. I hate it. If I ever get stuck in a small talk conversation, I literally feel like I have to have a shower because I'm like, I feel dirty. I feel like I've wasted my time in my life. So as an introvert, don't try to do what you don't want to do. Don't go to a networking event and try to be someone totally different than you. Don't try to be someone who's mostly like you. And what you want to do is you don't want to have small talk. You want to have vital talk. You want to have meaningful talk. I have a company called Engagement Unlimited because engagement is the secret sauce that makes life magical. You want networking to be magical? Get engaged. That's it. Be engaging and be engaged while you're at a networking event. This is another way, this is another way of bringing fun to you. But engagement and no small talk, only vital talk, come together because of meaning. What you want to do is have meaning in and around the things that you are talking about, things that mean things to you, so that you don't have a small conversation, you have a vital conversation. So for me,
Yeah.
Like, okay, so for example, like I'm very interested in talking about being a parent, because being a parent to me is an extreme extremity, like, you know, full of extremity. I love being a parent. I love my kids, but some of the time I hate being a parent, and some of the time, I mean, let's be frank. I sometimes hate my kids. Like I sometimes want to, you know, like drive you crazy. Thank goodness I don't let that show very much. To them, and, you know, to them, that's the important part. So I talk about parenting because I can have great stories, fun, horrible, horrific, tragedy, hilarious stories about parenting. And if someone else cares like I do about parenting, wow, we bond, bang. Let's say that doesn't work. I try some other stuff. I love books and movies. I love stories. So I often pull out stories of mine that are great, like stories that are, you know, like the top 10 stories of my life. Here's a great tip for you. Find out what your top 10 stories are and then start using them, and make sure they're good. The way you figure out stories are good, how? You use them. You pitch them to other people. You try them out. So as an introvert, try them out to your small group of close friends, which I expect you have as an introvert. I hope you have. It's really important to have a social support network. So try them out. And when your friends' eyes glaze over, they start looking around the room, or they start, you know, getting fidgety, realize that you got to tighten up your story. So figure out how to get your 10 best stories and start telling those. Let's say that doesn't work. So you tried parenting, you tried your stories, you tried movies or other things that interest you. If that doesn't work, then use this. This is my #1 technique for when nothing else works. I'm going to tell you a story about it in a second. What you do is you bond over being uncomfortable, right? So you walk up to someone and you go, hey, how you doing? You try a couple things. You don't get any meaningful talk. There's no meaningful talk happening. So you try your ultimate card, your ace up your sleeve, right? And you say, hey, so, you know, like, do you like coming to these type of events? Like, you know, do they, you know, make you full of, like, fill you full of joy? Or like, for me, these are nerve wracking. Like I get, you know, like, I feel like I invent a new way of sweating coming to these events, you know, and 99% of the time, people are going to go, yeah, me too. Because that's how people feel. You think that you feel this way because you're an introvert, but you don't. You just feel this way because you're a human, okay? You just happen to be further along the you know, the bell curve. You're further along. You're a little more extreme, but you're just feeling what other people feel, because we're human. And when we get into stressful situations, we end up feeling negative. And when we feel negative, we feel small and we feel inward and we fall inside. So talk about that experience. It's a great way to pull yourself out of that experience. So no small talk, only vital talk, right? Very, very important. Use your powers of an introvert. Usually introverts have great powers of observation, great powers of analysis. We are really great at having an internal world. So use that internal world to look around and go, you know, here's someone I'm going to talk to, and then look at them and go, how do I pull them into a vital talk? Watch them lean in and get interested, and you know you're on the right track. Watch them lean back and look around. You know that you're on the wrong track, so switch it up, right? It's only tactics. It's nothing to do with you. It's not your personality. You try a story, someone doesn't like it, try another story, right? No big deal. Don't take it so personally. That's, you know, I have this on my wall, one of the 13 things that are really important for me right now in my life. And number 5, don't take things so personally, because introverts take things personally. So just try not to. Okay, next point. We got to move on. Next point. So first one, no small talk, only vital talk. Second one, also really good for introverts. Don't make acquaintances when you're networking. Introverts tend to hate big, large groups of superficial acquaintances. Like, what's the point of that? Most of us think. So don't make those. Like, don't go into a networking event trying to make something that you don't think is valuable. Make something that you think is valuable. And what do introverts like? Introverts like friends. So don't make acquaintances, make friends. And entrepreneurs like friends too, because people like working with people that they know and like, right? So make friends. This is perfect because it works off of #1. Don't have small talk, have vital talk, and use your vital talk to lock yourself into a friendship with someone. Listen, I collect friends all over the world. Let me tell you this story. I was in Florida, in Fort Lauderdale, and giving a talk, flew from Vancouver, got up the next morning, or sort of flew in and was ready that evening. I go to an event. I don't know anyone there. I meet this guy named Ray Franklin. Shout out to Ray Franklin. And we bond. We have, like, you know, I have an hour before the things starts, and I'm supposed to be talking to a bunch of people. I'm the speaker. And I spend like half an hour talking with Ray because we bond. Holy cow, do we bond. We share a passion about audiences, about pushing power into the audience and about engaging audiences. So we have this amazing conversation. Ray's a friend of mine now. Like, as much as social media and being across a continent you can be, he's a friend because we bonded that strongly in one networking event. That is something that introverts can do. So no small talk, only vital, and use that vital talk to not make acquaintances, but to make friends. Let's move on. So let's say none of that works. Okay, so we're on to the third point now. None of it works. You try something doesn't work, you try something else doesn't work, you try story doesn't work, you try bond, yeah, it doesn't work. What do you do? So this is what you do. I'm in Vegas. So here's the story. I'm in Vegas and I'm going to be giving a talk. This is really challenging for me. I'm an introverted, but I'm an entrepreneur. So I'm supposed to be going and being big and live. And, I'm supposed to be a speaker. I'm supposed to be big and, full of personality. And yet the hour before I get up on stage is usually networking. Not my favorite thing, usually, right? Especially 20 years ago. Now, not so bad. But, I'm in a new place. I don't know anyone in Vegas. And so I start. And it goes horribly. The first conversation, I can't get out of small talk. I feel like I need a shower. I break that off. You can always end a conversation anytime. Anytime. Introverts, here's another little tip, okay? Another little extra. Always have a backup plan. Always have an escape route. The best escape route, there's two of them. The first one is, I got to go to the washroom, right? You just got to say, or like there's three actually. I just saw someone I knew, even if it's a little bit of a lie. I'm an actor. I have, quite a, liberal relationship to telling the truth, which we're going to talk about later, or you help someone, like you'd be helpful. So whenever you can't get out of conversation, normally use one of those like superpowers, like super secrets. I got to go to the washroom. How are you going to argue with that? So get out of the conversation. If it's sinking and dying, get out. Go recharge, go refill, go to the washroom. Like, don't lie, go to the washroom, lock yourself in the thing, take a minute to recharge, power pose for 2 minutes. We'll talk about that further in. Lots of things you can do. But anyway, nothing's working for me. I talked to two people, nothing's working. So I pull my atom bomb out of my arsenal. And what I do is I look around the room and I try to find someone who looks as uncomfortable as I feel. Okay? I try to find someone who looks as uncomfortable as I'm feeling. And I go up to that person and I break the ice. I go up and I go, hey, how you doing? I'm Roger. I'm brand new. I'm the speaker here. What's your name? Hey, Rob. Do you know anyone here? Like, I don't know anyone here. And he goes, no, I don't know anyone here. I'm brand new. This is my first time here. And I'm looking, because he's looking uncomfortable, right? And I go, yeah, that's my first time too. Like, but I'm, what's your job? He's in sales. Like I go, that's going to be kind of hard if you're, and he goes, yeah, I know. I usually work with people that I really know. So I'm new to the city. So I got to make these new relationships and I'm here doing it. It's really stressful. I'm like, great. So we totally bond over our stress. We totally bond over the fact that we don't feel like we belong. We totally bond over the fact that we don't know anyone there. We totally bond over the fact that the last place we want to be is right where we are. And after 2 minutes of bonding over the fact that we're in misery, guess what? We're not in misery anymore. We're sort of having a good time. Someone walks by and I reach out and go, hey, do you want to come join us for a second? What's your name? Hey, Catherine, I'm Roger. This is Rob. Rob works for this company. Do you know it? No, he's brand new. Do you know how long have you been here? And we find out her name is Catherine, and Catherine this is her second time here and she doesn't know anyone either. So we all bond over the fact that we don't know anyone. Now we're like laughing a little. I reach out and grab someone else. So there's 4 people. I introduce them. Now remember, let's get back. Your job is to bring this energy. Your job is to bring this. Like your job is to reach out and to say, hey, excuse me. Hey, my name's Roger. What's your name? That's it. Like, I know it's not easy for introverts. I know that. It's not easy. Sometimes we've got to do things that aren't easy. And we're going to talk about how to do that more a little bit further in. But some of the time, we just got to rise up to the occasion, even if we don't want to, right? Keep that in mind. We're going to talk about that more. So you start introducing people and it is amazing what will happen. So in this Vegas story, half an hour goes by, people start looking for seats. I look over, there's a burst of laughter because there's Rob with 7 other people sitting down at an 8-person table. They're laughing. They're obviously a group. He's bonding. He's having a good time. He looks over at me and waves and smiles. I'm sitting down with my own group because I'm in a great mood because now I've pulled myself out of my deep, dark hole. How did I do it? Here's the third technique. Help others. Help others. So if you can't have no small talk, only vital talk, and you can't make not acquaintances, but friends, help others. Help others. This is a neuroscientific fact. humans succeed the most based on the amount of support they have in their life, the amount of love, the amount of support they have. But here's the kicker. This is what neuroscience is teaching us, that you get more out of it. You get more if you help someone than if you're helped. So it's great to be helped. We all need help. I need help. Holy cow, do I need help at times. But we get the most help for ourselves when we help others. Hey, guess what I'm doing right now? I'm helping others, right? I figured out a way of turning my life into helping others. Why? Because it helps me. It gives me all this energy. It gives me all this life. And it gives me all this ability to reach outside of myself, to be something that I might not be at that moment, but I desperately need to be, and to pull that into my life so that the next time it's not so hard to reach and not so hard to pull and not so far and a little closer and a little closer and a little closer until finally you realize you're going, I'm not reaching outside myself at all. As a matter of fact, people are starting to reach into me to help themselves, right? That's what we want as an introverted entrepreneur, right? We don't want you to start off at the bottom and crawl up slowly. We want you to, catapult, to turbocharge. We want you to go up to the front of the line, right? And you go to the front of the line. How? By helping others. Helping others. Neuroscientific fact. You, as an introverted entrepreneur, can put in your wallet, in your pocket to help your life be better. Not just work life, not just money life, life. Home life, personal life, social life. Okay, let's move on. So those were the how to make networking more profitable, more pleasant, scratching the surface. Tons more to talk about how to make that work for you. Let's move on. Point number 2.
Point 2. Here we go.
Okay, so this is a mind blower, and it's just in the title. Okay, this is what neuroscience is teaching us now. The way you think about stress determines its impact on you. Let me say that again. The way you think about stress determines its impact on you. So all you have to do is think about stress specific ways, and you will determine what kind of impact it has on you. Let me tell you about this neuroscientific study. They took this group of people who were suffering relatively large amounts of stress. Everyone suffers stress. These people were suffering large amount. Like, the only people who don't suffer stress in this world are people who are dead, right? Or maybe someone ascending to Buddhist heaven on a Zen cloud, or maybe a sociopath, right? Those are the only people who don't feel stress. So we all feel stress, but these people were feeling more stress than normal. They were a heightened group of stress feelers, all right? So they divided them in half. The control group, they just said nothing to. Go off and live your life. Just go off and live your stress-filled life. The second group, they did one thing only, and they did this thing. They said things to them. They told them information. That's all they did. They didn't give them anything else. They didn't give them, exercises. They didn't give them anything except a new way of thinking. This is what they said to them. They said, hey, you people, you guys experience a lot of stress in your life. Do you guys know that stress is actually here to help us? Do you know that stress is our body's way of raising ourselves up to the challenge that is in front of us? Do you know that stress is simply a way for us to reach peak performance? That without stress, you never reach peak performance. So stress is a function of peak performance. If you want peak performance, if you want to be as good as you can be, stress has to be there. This is what they taught them. This is what they taught them. They just said that stress is a function of a healthy life where peak performance is desired. And they said, go off and live your life. They went back months later, a year later, and they looked at the first group that they didn't say anything to. And guess what happened in that group? Horrible things. 30%, almost a third of the people in that group had suffered a serious stress-induced illness, like cardiac arrest type illness, like, I might die type illness, right? 30%, one-third, almost one-third. Yeah, wow is right.
Wow.
Over here in the group that they just gave them a different way of thinking about stress. They just gave them a different way of thinking about stress. Guess what? Guess what the number was?
Half.
You won't guess. Yeah, there we go. Half is a great guess because that sounds realistic. Maybe it's double. No, those numbers are nowhere near. The number is magical. The number is magical. It's so magical that whenever I talk about it, I usually send someone out to research it again just to make sure that I'm not lying. It seems so ridiculous. The answer is 0.
0.
So I'm going to ask you the stupidest, easiest question you've ever been asked in your life, ever. Which group would you rather be in?
The second group.
Right? I mean, there's no answer to that. I mean, it's a rhetorical question because it's so duh. We, of course, need to be in the second group. So I think there's a chart that we're going to show you. Is it up there already? This is
right
the
now.
Yeah, the Yerkes-Dodson chart. This shows us exactly what we're talking about here. This is a massively powerful chart because it shows you that without stress, things don't happen. If you want to get to peak performance, optimal performance, you need to get to an optimal level of stress, the highest level of stress before, because once you go past that level, everything takes a nosedive. And what happens is that your stress takes over and your performance takes a radical downward spiral. Right? We all know what that feels like, probably. I mean, don't you? I know what that feels like. I'm intimately involved with that downward spiral. And so here's the really interesting kicker. Like, if you want that optimal peak performance spot to shift further out so that you can go, like, more stress leads you to a higher level of performance. What you need to do is just think about stress and that position differently. You just need to think about the fact that stress is leading me to optimal, to peak performance. And that when you do think that way, you change the way stress interacts with your body. And all of these health issues that normally are attached to stress, because normally our bodies go, stress, oh, I'm under stress. Oh, I hate it. I'm under stress. It's killing me. It's killing me, right? We say these things, they end up becoming true. So change the way you think, and you will change your position on this chart. You will push yourself further out. As an introverted entrepreneur, wouldn't you like to have a better relationship to stress? Wouldn't you?
Of course.
Yeah. I mean, here's another stupid question, right? I mean, I believe that everyone, but in the world, has this relationship, but I believe introverted entrepreneurs have a ridiculously intimate relationship to stress, because introverted entrepreneurs are people who are living this life. I know, because I've lived it. You live a life where your introverted personality is at war with your entrepreneurial drive. I've got to do this thing. I've got to sell this thing right now. I've got to have this conversation with someone to try to sell something or to convince them to buy something. But my introverted side just wants to sit in my chair and strategize about how to make this system work better. That's what I really want to do. I don't want to pick up the phone and answer this call, right? I don't want to do that, because our lives usually are in conflict when we're an introvert and we're an entrepreneur. So I want to talk about a dentist story, but we're going to talk about that a little bit later. I hope, Michael, don't let me forget. Because what I want to talk about right now here is a superpower. How to harmonize your introverted personality with your entrepreneurial drive. How to harmonize them so that not only are they not in conflict, but they actually work in tandem and in support of each other, so that your introverted side can actually work to support your entrepreneurial side, and your entrepreneurial side can work to support your introverted side. Because there's huge power in being an introvert, and we must not forget this. We must not overlook this. The world is an extroverted paradise for the most part. It rewards extroverts much faster than it rewards introverts. And so we as introverts have a built-in belief system that our value is not as valuable as an extroverted's value, right? I mean, is that not in you? I hope it's not. I wish you would. I hope right now you're going, I don't have that, because good for you. Way to go. You've managed to miss what most introverts have.
Right.
Which is an inferiority complex, right? Like, we believe somehow that we're not quite as good because I need to sit and think in my head, and I'm not, like, I mean, I'm an extrovert as well. I do a lot of extroverted things. I'm also I'm also an external thinker. I think out loud. That's the best way I think. I'm not an introvert in that I don't shut everything down and go inside my head for 6 hours, let it all work itself out, and then come out with a nice little, sentence that I'm going to write at the end. I can't live that life. That's a very interesting life to live. I'm an external thinker, so I do a lot of things outside my head. But regardless, introverts have been trained, have been taught, have been forced into believing that what we provide is not as valuable. So we need to change that. We need to, first of all, give honor to our introverted side and go, there are many things that our introverted side allow us to do that if we didn't have, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. Like, our entrepreneurial business would fail, because without our clear-headed thinking, without our analysis, without our ability to look deeply at a problem and see into it, if we didn't have that ability, our business would not be what it is. So we don't want to lose that. Quite the contrary. We want to support that. We want to give it power and strength. But what about the time when your introverted side, your personality, is at war with what your entrepreneurial side needs to do? Now, this is the thing that gets to me. This is the issue that gets to me. This is the issue. How do we reconcile being who we are and believing that that's good enough, that, you know, it's good enough to be who we are? How do we reconcile that, which is a very powerful and very necessary way to go through life, I believe, with I want to be a bigger, better, more authentic version of myself. I want to be a bigger version of myself. I want to be better. I don't want to just be who I am, because just who I am fills me with revulsion some of the time. Like, I don't know about you, but some of the time who I am makes me sick. I don't want to just be me. I want to be a better version of me. My kids need a better version of me. My wife needs a better version of me at times. And my company needs a better version of me at times. So how do we reconcile these things? So I say we reconcile them with a superpower. And this is the superpower that humans have. All humans have it. We are all actors. We can all pretend. We are all liars. Now, before you get really upset and go, I don't want to listen to this anymore, I want to say to you, this is a really powerful and very valid thing. This is a very wonderful thing. If we couldn't lie at all, my goodness, think about how horrible life would be like. Think about marriage. Think about parenting. Holy cow. Think about your company. If you could never lie, if you could never say that something wasn't exactly the way you know, if you weren't able to say, I'm thinking something different inside that I'm going to say, if you weren't able to do that, how would you get through life? So what I want to do is I want to use that superpower, that ability to have a dual reality, something going on inside us that is very different, very divorced from what's going on the outside of us. I want to use that superpower to help combine our introverted and our entrepreneurial side. Okay, this is a superpower we all have. You might say to yourself, you might be saying right now, forget it, I don't, Roger. You're wrong. I'm a very special introverted entrepreneur and I don't have this power. So what I'm going to do, what we're going to give you is a log, like, you know, a journal, where you're going to keep track for one day. You probably won't need to do it for a day. I think you probably only need to do it for an hour or two. But for an hour or two or a day, we've given you something to keep track. And what you're going to do there is you're going to keep track of every single time your role changes, especially if your role changes in a way that you don't want it to. So I'm going to give you a couple examples. You're at work, you're busy writing something, you're in the midst of it, you're loving it, maybe, you know, and it's going really well, and all of a sudden the phone rings. You're a solopreneur, or maybe your salesperson's not there, or maybe they're putting it through to you because it's a client who's got a problem, and you have a choice right there. Like, it's good to batch your time. So let's say you batch your time so you don't get distracted, but let's say your batch is over and you'd like to go back to working on this, but now what do? Do you answer the phone and become an entrepreneur and do what your business needs you to do so that you can make the sales and do the things? Like, we're entrepreneurs because we think there's something that we want to share with the world, right? Like, that's why I'm an entrepreneur. I think there's something that uniquely I have that I want to share with the world. So if we don't honor that side, we're not honoring ourselves. So what do you do in that moment? I want to be my introverted personality, but I need to be an entrepreneur right now. What do? Well, that's a role. And most of us have no problem with putting aside part of our personality, part of who we are, like a snake would shed its skin, or except that's wrong because we're not getting rid of it. We're just going to put it off to the side while another part of our personality comes to the forefront, right? So one part of our personality fades into the back. One part of our personality comes to the forefront, right? Let me give you another example. Okay, I'll give you a really heartfelt example, actually. I hope this is something that happened to my wife and I about my middle child, Cody, who's a very sensitive, emotional, and an expressive kid. I don't know where he gets that from. And we were having real trouble with him. He's a middle child, and his younger sister was just born. He was having real trouble adjusting, and we were having real trouble. We were losing him. He was pulling away from us, and we were losing him. And my wife, in a moment of darkness, like in a moment of, like, you know, of despair, like I rarely ever see from her. She's so wonderful all the time. It's ridiculously wonderful to be in her life. In this dark pit of despair that I found her in, she said, we have to change how we're handling Cody. And I think that what we have to do is that when we feel that we have to push away, when we're the angriest with him, when he is pushing all of our buttons and we are furious. We are not just furious, but we're hurt as well. Like when we are in pain, when that's happening and we want to push him away, we have to reach out and pull him tighter. We have to reach out and hug him. We have to reach out and show him how much we love him. The moment that we want to show how much we don't love him is the moment that we have to pull him in tighter and show him that we do love him. And I had a choice at that moment. My wife finds that sort of stuff relatively easy, I think. For me, that's not so easy. For me, when I'm angry and upset, it wants to come out. My whole inner world is screaming to come out to the outer world. And so what happened, oh, good grief, we got to end. So what happened is that I had a choice. I had to either decide to be a parent to my son when he needed it, or I needed to be me in that moment because that's what I needed. Well, some of the time I was me because I couldn't rise up to the occasion, but more and more over time, I found it easier and easier to reach out and pull him tighter, even though I had originally wanted to push him away. I believe that we all have this superpower. I believe that when things are going crazy inside your head, you have a choice to be calm on the outside. When you are driven to be an introvert on the inside, you have a choice to be an entrepreneur on the outside. And then the reverse. You have that choice. This is a superpower that humans have. And I would say, as an introverted entrepreneur, this is a choice that you have to start looking at on a minute-to-minute or like on a day-to-day basis. You have to start analyzing your energy and figuring out when you can push into entrepreneurial activities and still do that with energy, and when you need to pull back into your introverted personality because that's more important at that point. So these are things that you have to figure out, but I believe you can do it. And I believe making this log will help you realize that you do this all the time. So if you do it all the time for other reasons, like, parenting or, significant others or for friends or for family or for the world needing it, if you can do it for those reasons, I believe you can do it for your reason. And your reason is the real one. Like your reason is the real one to you, right? It's the harmonizing of you. It's the harmonizing of your introverted side with your entrepreneurial side. That is what we're hoping to get here. Why? So that you can have a more profitable and more pleasant life, not just at networking, but in life. So on that note, Michael, let's turn it over to talk about what we can offer them further.
Perfect, Roger. Let's do a quick recap of the information you've provided so they have it. And just a note, this will be provided in a support guide at the end of the presentation. So the first point,
and they can also listen to it again in the replay.
Without a doubt, of course, which we'll send out afterwards as well. Make networking more profitable and more pleasant. How do you do that? No small talk, only vital talk. Don't make acquaintances, make friends. And the fallback, help others.
Help others.
Help others. The second point that Roger talked about was the way you think about stress determines its impact. Use stress to your advantage in everyday situations. Stress is both our friend and our enemy. Learn how to make it work for you. There's the chart again, which we'll have in the support guide, so you can look at that and review it. The third area was combine your entrepreneurial talents and introvert personality to create success. And again, how do you do that? You take on a role, you keep a log, and then you use the acquired knowledge and understanding to play the best role in each situation at the appropriate time. Yeah. So this is the information that Roger has presented. We've got it covered for you in the support guides. So that'll be available for you. So the question we have now for you is, why did you show up today? Could it have been that you're tired of getting the same results in the same effort? You want to increase income and profits? You want positive results fast? You want to reduce your stress at home and work? And you're ready to turbocharge your growth. You want the positives to pile up and the negatives to fade away. So it's time for you to become a more successful introverted entrepreneur. That's why we're introducing a brand new course specifically designed for introverted entrepreneurs titled Winning Strategies for Introverted Entrepreneurs. It's a video course, How to Thrive at Home and Work. And Roger talked about this briefly. Of course, it's hard to cover everything in a 60-minute webinar, but big important point here is that this is not just for work. It's not just for home. It's for your life. It's for your home. It's for your work. It's for your social.
Yeah, this is something that's really important to me. Like, it is ridiculous in my mind to be aiming for success in one area of your life as if they are not connected and as if one area of your life is enough. Like, it drives me crazy. We have watched stories, movies, like TV shows non-stop about how ridiculous it is to aim for success in business that does not come back to success at home. You need to be happy at home and at work if you really want to have a life that is meaningful and significant to you. So that's what we aim for, both home and career. We want unified so that we can be better, happier, more authentic individuals everywhere in our life, not in only one part of it, which seems crazy to aim for that.
Exactly. So what is this course? It's the ultimate shortcut to combining your introverted personality and your entrepreneurial talent so that you can fast track your growth, income, and profits and thrive at home and at work. What's included in this course? We have 7 core modules with 17 advanced video training. There's a cover shot of each one of the different trainings. So look at all those Rogers, all in various expressive modes. So each module has 2 or 3 videos in it. And the reason we do that is we break it down into content specific for a specific topic. So we've broken it down into bite-sized chunks so that you can watch them, and you can watch them as many times as you require, or as few as you want. It's up to you.
And I mean, let's not kid ourselves here. Like, the reason we put this into video is because you will most likely need to watch certain segments over and over again. And then hopefully those will fade away, but other segments you'll start to realize that you need to work on. And then you'll watch them over and over. And I mean, like, over and over. Like, I know people who have watched these things like 10, 20, 30 times, because when you watch it, it helps pull it into your body and it helps you make the change that you need to make, because that's what we're here for. We're here to make transformation, not just like in anyone, but in you. Like, I'm looking for transformation in me. The reason I talk about these things is because by helping others, I help myself, right? I've already told you guys that. So these are things that will help you change. That's what we want, transformation.
Transformation. 7 support guides, which lock in your learning. And we're really big on this lock in your learning. And as you delve deeper into it, you'll understand that in more detail. But the purpose of the support guides is to help you find what's important to you, find out what you need to help support yourself, and then to be able to lock that into your learning curve and your learning cycle. We also have a bonus video, which is called Walking Through the Door. It's this video at the bottom right here. Very unique, very interesting, very important video to give you huge insights to going forward in a lot of different ways. And we have a live question and answer video conference, which is the ability for all of the attendees, all of the students, all of the people involved in the course to get together and use the resources of each other to be able to move forward. So it's not just something that this is a solo course where you just move through it at your own pace and there's no interaction. We provided an outlet so that people can talk and communicate.
And you guys are introverts, right? So you need a support network around of other people who are going to ask questions as well. Because one of the things about introverts is that we tend to have a very highly functioning inner world, which does not necessarily translate into a highly functioning external world. We keep things on the inside. So it's great to have a group of people who are going to be saying the things that you're thinking so that you get those answers out into the world without you necessarily having to ask them.
Right. Annie White is the author of No Reason to Stay. And this is a very interesting lady. You want to talk about an introverted entrepreneur. This is
she's the definition. She's a writer. This is what she does. She spends her time in her head and then writing things down, and other people read her writing. She doesn't have to do anything interactive with them except when she has a book reading. So this is what I heard from her. I followed many of your suggestions, and I found to my amazement that I was not even nervous. You had an enormous impact on me and my ability to achieve this lifelong goal. And the goal was to be able to get up and do a book reading without like having a month of throwing up in advance, without feeling sick and shaking as she's reading from her book. So just coming and listening to my talk for a couple hours changed everything for her. This is what we want for you guys as well.
Also included in the course, 2 bonus VIPs, bonuses we have for you. Neuroscience video mini course for introverted entrepreneurs. There's 5 amazing videos in this mini course that go through the new findings in neuroscience that will positively change the way you, as an introverted entrepreneur, will work and live on a daily basis. Fantastic information, and current and relevant and up to date, and something that when you go through it and you watch, you'll be going, really? Yeah, I get it. The other VIP bonus we have, and this is for the first 4 people registered from this webinar, we'll get a 30-minute Skype personal one-on-one coaching call with Roger. This is direct access to the expert. Incredible, huge value. I can't talk about this enough, and so I won't. I think that everyone will appreciate that bonus. What is the investment? The investment is $197 today, followed by 5 installments of $197. Down at the bottom of the page or the screen there is the link, and shortly that'll appear below that you can just click on it. Just give me a second to get that going.
It will appear below the video, right?
Below the video. While I'm doing that, Roger's going to talk to you.
Yeah, so introverts often are not so happy at being forced into taking action fast, right? We like to think about things. So we have a money back guarantee that will help you along in this process. And the reason we're doing this is very clear. Statistically, it's very, very obvious that the longer you move away from an offer and don't take action, the more unlikely you will take action. This is just something that has been proven over and over and over and over and over again. So what we want to do is help you take action more quickly so that you actually take action and don't think a year from now, maybe I should have done that. I wonder what my life would be like now. So what we're offering is a 60-second, 60-day money back guarantee. You don't like what you hear, you don't open it, you open the whole thing and learn everything you can and still want your money back just because that's the kind of person you are. We don't care. We don't care. Please do that. Play the system if you want, because the reality is most people won't. We are offering tremendous value. And if you don't think that the value's there, just please let us know and we'll give it back. That's it. I don't want to belabor this because it sounds worse. If you don't get anything out of it or don't get enough out of it, just get your money back. We will happily give it to you. All right.
Exactly. So what's going to happen when you click on the link, which is now below the video, you're going to go to this page where you're going to put in your first and last name and your email address. On the bottom portion of it, you can click on the payment plan, the $197 now, and then the 5 additional $197. Or if you're one of those people that like to pay in full and save, you save $185 by paying in full. You would click on there. What will eventually happen is you'll get an email from us, a welcome email with your login information, and you'll go through that process. And then you'll end up on this members page where we welcome you. Probably not Melissa, because you're probably not a Melissa. The odds of that being you being Melissa are pretty low. But anyway, this is where you'll end up. And so very straightforward, very easy to navigate program. There's the course homepage, and then there are the modules right there with the bonuses, and then there's a few other things down below. So you just click on the module, and the videos will appear, and you watch them. And you watch them at your leisure. You watch them as often as you want. You start.
And the support guides will appear as well. So all the stuff that you need will be there in one spot.
Everything will be there. Now, just as a quick titles.
Let's go through this. Sure. This is where it started. This is me, and probably you too. The birth of Roger's Rules, where everything started to change for me when I started to realize that I needed to start stepping outside of myself. The first rule, get comfortable being uncomfortable, the bedrock of how I started to change everything in my life. Fight to be positive, because we are finding out from neuroscience that our automatic human default response to stress is to be negative. So if you want to have a choice, you have to fight to be positive. We're all liars. This is looking at our superpower and how to use it to our advantage. The way you think about stress determines its impact. So we look at that from different angles in more detail, and how changing the way you think about stress is applicable in a whole bunch of different areas, and what that does for your life. And then lastly, the power of play, which is one of the best ways, fastest, easiest, and certainly the most enjoyable ways of harnessing superpowers that we have as humans to your cause. So harnessing the power of play to becoming an introverted entrepreneur will help turbocharge your journey in ways that very little else can.
Milos was one of the people that saw Roger. Roger's a true talent, and it was awe-inspiring watching him. He was literally bursting with energy and had the entire room captivated with his intensity and charisma.
Yeah.
Are they
Okay.
not?
So let me quickly just tell something here. Just before this talk, there's a bunch of project managers. Someone else was on stage that they were amazing. I totally fell into my head. I was sitting off the side of the stage waiting to be announced, and I'm thinking I am like can't do this. I can't get up. I'm not going to be as good as that person. And I was falling deep into my head. And there's nothing I can do. Like I can't talk to people. I can't help others because I'm waiting to be introduced. So what I do is I used Roger's rules to help myself get into the zone I needed to get into so that at the end of the talk, this is what someone in the audience had to say, right? That I went from being someone who couldn't get up on stage to being someone who was being called a true talent and awe-inspiring, right? This is a journey that you can go on as well.
Exactly. So the question again is, can you afford to wait 5, 10, 20 years? Consider what could happen in your life if you were able to become a more successful introverted entrepreneur. Would that mean for you mastering that presentation that you have been dreading, or finally being able to ask out that someone special, or leading the meeting in a cool and confident manner, or attending that network or social meeting?
Okay, wait a second. Yeah, you
Yeah.
keep going. I'm gonna interrupt because I'm gonna do the dentist story because we only have a minute. So the long and the short of the story is this: I was talking to a dental group for the second time a year later. These two people came rushing in and sat at the front, looking very weird. So I go up and I talk to them in the minutes before it's time to start. And the guy immediately gets up and leaves. And the woman laughs and she says, "The reason I go, why are you guys here? What's going on?" She goes, "The reason we're here is because of him." I go, "What's the story?" And so she tells me the story, and she says, I'm a dentist. He's my husband. He came along to the conference last year with me, but he's not a dentist, but he came and saw your talk because he was interested in pressure cooker confidence. He's an introverted entrepreneur. He has a small business, and our life has been full of stress ever since I've known him. Like, you know, middle of the night, waking up and vomiting type of stress because something is happening at the office, you know, having to do performance reviews and so stressed out that, you know, before going, like at night, weekends before things. Like our life was tied up in his stress around being an entrepreneur and being an introvert. He listened to you for 2 hours a year ago, and he came home a changed man. And we're here right now because I needed to see what you are told him, because I have never experienced something like this in our life. Our life is different. We are happier. There is so much less stress in our life. My husband is a different man because of putting into effect the Rogers rules that you taught him. What are they? That's what she said. This is what I hope to offer you guys. I offer this as a course because I've had so many people come up afterwards when I'm speaking and saying, "We want more, Roger. What you're talking about is changing our life. And now you're leaving. We want more." So this is our attempt at providing more for the people asking for more. I hope that's one of you, and I hope it changes your life like it changed that dentist family, like changed their whole life was changed because of the way he changed. I want that for you.
We all want that. Remember at the beginning when I said stay tuned to the end for the really cool bonus? There's the link right there, and below the video is also a link. You can click on it and go directly to it and pick up the Masterclass Support Guide, which is clear and easy to implement action steps to follow. So that's something that you can take away from this automatically. Just click on that link and off you go. Now, we are just past the hour, so we normally deal with a number of questions here. We've run just a little bit long. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, there's Roger live again. I'm going to personally answer all those questions via email. We'll answer them individually one-on-one. And we do certainly want to thank you for participating.
Michael, before we go, just because some people who might want to hear what those questions are, can you just pick out like the top 2 or 3? And if we take another 2 or 3 minutes, I think that's okay. And people can sign off if you need to. But sure, if not, certainly. let's go through a couple of those questions, right? We're here.
All right. This is from Chris. He asks, I shouldn't say, I don't know if it's a he or she. I have always had a lot of stress in my life at work and at home. Is this topic dealt with in the course? Chris, yes, it most definitely is. Module 6, the way you think about stress determines its impact. We dealt with it a little bit in today's webinar, but
we do it all the way through the course. We talk about stress. And honestly, if you don't feel that your stress level has changed after the course, just get your money back. Honestly, that's the whole purpose of the course, is to have that effect on you. So if it doesn't, get your money back, but it won't. You will. It will change you. It will change. Your relationship to stress will change.
A question from Sylvia. How long is the membership for? The membership currently is lifetime, although in the near future we are going to be moving to a monthly recurring membership. So now would be the time to get the membership. Frank asks, how often can I watch? We've already addressed that question. Kelly asks, can I share my password to the members area? No, Kelly, you can't. It's for individuals. If you're interested in corporate account.
Michael. Yeah. So yeah, if you're interested in corporate account, please let us know. But Michael, has anyone asked about you? Usually we get a couple questions where people say, who's Michael? Michael's my brother. You tell me, like, can you get on the, Michael's really an introverted entrepreneur as well. He doesn't like being
yeah, there's a question there, but I blew past it because, you know, okay. All right. Yeah. All right. I'll do this. I got to stop the screen sharing. All right. There I am. Hello, everybody. I'm the introverted entrepreneur on this end of the screen. What I didn't tell you guys earlier was, as the introverted entrepreneur running the program, I was offline for 9 minutes, but nobody knew that. My computer shut down, and I've been scrambling to get back online and then get back into the groove and get the slideshow going.
Actually, I knew it. I knew it.
You?
I saw you disappear. I was like, I better just keep going.
There you go. Good for you. Anyway, there I am. I'm the guy running the control panel today. So that's me. So those are the questions. Well, there's a real short one. Tracy asks, how long is each video? Videos range between 5 minutes and 20 minutes. Each video is clearly related to the conversation, to the point, and it takes as long as it does. So we've cut them up into bite-sized pieces, and you can stop and start them and watch them as you go through.
I think that's about it. So you guys, thanks so much, for taking your time, for going. We went over the hour. I hope you learned stuff. I hope you changed. That's really what we're hoping for. And I hope you come on this journey with us. Like, further in, there's a lot to learn and a lot of your life to start looking forward to, I would say, as opposed to, like, being like I used to be, like, going, I got to go do these things. I hate it. Now I don't hate it. So I hope that for you too.
Just consider what we've covered today in the 35 minutes or so of content. Now imagine how 5 hours of content would turbocharge your business and your home life. And don't forget the support guides, the neuroscience video mini course bonuses, the walking through the door bonus video, the live question and answer video conference, not to mention the one-on-one personal call with Roger. Well, we're at the end. We want to thank you for attending today and staying with us. Since you've committed your time to be with us here until the end, that tells us you're someone who's dedicated to becoming a more successful introverted entrepreneur. It seems to us you'd be perfect to try out our offer today, so go ahead and jump on that and do it. You'll be happy you did. Just click on the link at the bottom and you'll be ready and off to the races. That's it for both of us. Roger, thanks for your vast knowledge and information today.
Oh, thank you.
And we'll see everybody shortly inside the members area. Bye now.
Bye-bye.